Hi there, my name's Ben, and today we're going to build the ZPP Kit bag from RipstopByTheRoll. It's a nice ditty bag, has two zippers, and lots of room inside. So, this is the kit as you get from RipstopByTheRoll. First thing we'll do is take a look at the contents and identify them. The material is a square. There's no up or down, right or wrong, so the zippers can go anywhere on the sides of the material. This is the zipper. It's a waterproof zipper, and these are the zipper sliders, the zipper pulls, and the grosgrain, which is sewn in to make these tabs on the side to make it easy to hold on to. So those are the components. That's what should be in your bag, and from that we're going to build this. Alright, let's get started with what many people consider to be the hardest thing, but I think if explained properly, it's really not that difficult. Alright, take your zipper and split it. Some videos will tell you to mark the ends. There's no need to mark it. Alright, there are two sides to this fabric. There's a shiny side. I don't know if you can tell the difference in the video. There's a shiny side and a dull side. So the shiny side goes in, the dull side goes out. So that's the outside. And you can see that here. The zipper has a shiny side and a dull side. Being a waterproof zipper, the shiny side goes out. So what we want when we're done is the dull side of the material, the outside, and the shiny side of the zipper on the same side of the bag. So how do we do that? Well, this is what we want when we're done, which is this zipper sewn onto this material, shiny side to outside. But we don't want to sew it on just like this. We want a better seam than that. We don't want ragged edges. And so the first thing we do is take the zipper and flip it over. So we have the shiny side, the outside of the zipper against the outside of the material, and line it up. We're going to sew the zipper on by putting one stitch down the center of the zipper and then flipping the whole thing over and putting another stitch down the material on the outside, and then our zipper will be in the right orientation. I have two small pre-assembled pieces here, and I'll show you how that's done. So here is a piece of material with the zipper and a single stitch that's right in the middle. So this is the outside of the material, the outside of the zipper, and you put them together. Put a single stitch right down the center. The reason you want it in the center is that when you fold this over, you want to have enough room for the zipper slider to go up and down, but you also need enough room to sew this piece of material down on this side. So here's one where both sews have been made. So we sewed down the center, flipped it over, and then sewed down the outer edge. Now I do all of my sewing of the zippers with the zipper up. And the reason is it's easier for me to see the material and the zipper alignment when the zipper is on top instead of when the zipper is on the bottom. The zipper being the smaller part. Same thing when I do the second stitch, I flip it over and I look at the zipper, because what I don't want is for this stitch to come off the side here and not catch the zipper. So as long as I come up the edge of the zipper and keep it on the zipper, when I flip it over, it's going to be in the right place there. Before we set our first stitch and attach the zipper to the cloth, let's take a look at the zipper foot positioning with respect to the zipper teeth and the needle positioning. The zipper foot attaches to one side or the other, depending upon which side the zipper is on. So if the zipper is on the left-hand side, then the zipper foot is on the leftmost position. Conversely, when we stitch it in the other direction, we'll move it. Now then comes the needle position, and I'll lower the needle by hand, and you can see that the needle is just about in the center of the material. But you can adjust that. So if we wanted the needle a little further over that way, we use the needle positioning control of this sewing machine, which is right here. Bring it back to 0. And if we wanted to move the needle to the left, switch the position control and start moving the needle. Back looking at the needle position. As we go over, you could put a stitch right up against the edge of the zipper if you wanted to. So that's your choice. I think somewhere in the center is just right, and it turns out that's where the zipper foot and the center position of the needle wind up. All right, let's begin sewing. Back stitch to the end. And then start stitching down the full length. Of the zipper and the material. Removing clips as we go and keeping material and zipper aligned with our fingers. I like to go slow. At least on this first pass, because the material and the zipper can move quite a bit. Very quickly. If you're going fast, you might miss a shift in the zipper position relative to the cloth, or the zipper position relative to the zipper foot. So I'm not going to make you sit through all of the zipping sewing that slow, but I wanted you to get an idea for one of these of a nice pace and how long it might take you. Alright, back stitch, some more forward stitch, and fix. And we're done. We finished our first stitch. We've got the shiny side of the zipper, the outside, against the outside of the material. We're now going to fold the zipper and the material in the zipper so that we have a nice clean edge, and we're going to stitch right along here. Now, in order to sew the other stitch on this zipper, we're going to have to swap the zipper foot. So move the zipper foot over to the other side, get the thread lined up, fold the zipper underneath. You can see where that's lined up. Now, I don't know if you can see it well enough, but the needle isn't going to quite catch the material as we want it to, so we're going to position that needle over as far as we can without hitting the zipper foot, and I think that's where we are right there. So now we'll get our zipper foot down. our zipper teeth positioned against the edge of the foot, and we can see our needle position is not correct. So we're going to move the needle over a bit, about a 4 position on this sewing machine, and start the stitch, back stitch, go a little faster now because there's less concern about the material winding up in the wrong position relative to the zipper. Just make sure and keep the material pulling in this direction. Back, forward again, and fix. And we're finished. The zipper is attached as it should be. Shiny side out, that's the outside of the material. Nice clean edge on the inside. Okay, so we've got the bag folded. Here's the inside of the bag. This is the outside of the bag. Line the two zippers up together, and this is the zipper, the slider that comes with the kit. Put it on one of the zippers. It's real easy to get one on. It slides right on. So the tricky part is getting it on the second one. Now, first thing you want to make sure you do is line up the edges of the material so they meet. And then, after you've done that, bring the slider down. And this is going to take me a while because it's not easy to do. Anybody who says this is easy to do isn't showing you their whole video. So bring the slider down as close as you can. It's not only difficult to get the teeth lined up, it's difficult to hold on to the little handle that's on the slider. And then slip this side in. Check the alignment again. Looks pretty good. And then push the zipper down. How did we do? Well, I don't like it. So I'll take something shiny. Take the edge of this razor blade, and here's the edge of this side of the material, and there's the edge of that side of the material. So there's a little bit too much of a gap, and when we sew everything together, it's going to make things twisted. So now is not the time to get impatient. Let's try that again. Let's bring the slider a little bit further down. Slip that piece of material in. How's our position? Maybe a little better this time. And push the slider down. Get it right down and out of the way. Okay, those look pretty well lined up. That's as good as you're going to get. Now, we've got another slider to go on this kit. We have two zippers so they can pull apart and open the bag. So we've got to do the same thing at the opposite end, turn it around, and put another slider on. Now I find the easiest way to do this when you've got two zippers, to make sure that these don't have a situation where you have one zipper that buckles up like that. The easiest way to do this is to bring this up as close as you can. Take your second slider, put it on the long half of the zipper, Bring it down. Feed the other side in. Try to get them lined up as much as you can. Pull it down. That worked out pretty well. So now we can open this one up, pull this one down. Let's see what happens when we bring them together. They come together nicely. There's no unevenness in the zipper. It's not bulging out. And when we have the bag all built, the zippers are going to open like that. All right, for now, we need to close these zippers, and we need to turn this bag inside out and start the next step. All right, so after trimming the zippers, we need to turn the bag inside out. Just be a little bit careful. You don't want the zippers to separate. You want to keep them together during this phase. Okay, so most other videos will have you bend the zipper, pull the bag like this, find the center, and mark right here for the next set of stitching. I don't do it that way because you really need more than just one mark, and I'd rather be precise and use a ruler. So if we just fold the bag flat and measure from one end to the other, we have a measurement of 6.5 inches. So that means that it should be 3 1/4 inches from the center of the zipper to each end. So it looks like it's pretty well centered right now. Let's just measure it. Well, that's 3 1/4 and 3 1/4. Okay, so the first mark that we want to make is right in the center of the zipper. And remember, we're marking the inside of the material, so putting the Sharpie marker on there is fine. All right, it turns out there are 2 more marks that we need to make, and they won't make sense until I show you the sewing. So the second 2 marks are exactly halfway between the zipper and the end of the material. So 3 1/4 divided by 2 is 1 5/8. So 1 5/8 is right here. And 1 5/8 is right here. Let's just check it and make sure that we have 3 1/4 between each of those, and we do. Okay, so we've got a center mark, and then we've got a mark halfway between the center and the end, and a mark halfway between the center and the end. Now there's one more thing we have to do before we can make the stitch along here, and that is to take this piece of grosgrain and make the pull tabs. So if you want to use the full length of the grosgrain, just cut it right in half. After you've cut the grosgrain, you're going to need to seal the edge with some heat, otherwise this will fray. And I'm going to show you a little trick that helps make it easier to sew the grosgrain in a loop, and it helps if you have a glove for this. So fold the grosgrain into a loop, line up the edges nice and square. Just melt the plastic and then pinch it. Let it cool for a second. And now it'll stay together in a loop like that while you sew it. Makes it just a little bit easier to line it up and hold it while the needle's going over it. And you can see why I wanted the glove. No fun to have melted nylon on your fingers. All right, now we are ready to sew one of the end pieces. And the first thing we have to do is remove the zipper foot and replace it with a standard foot. And return our needle position to 0. There we go. Recall that this dot is supposed to be in the very center of the zipper. So line up your material, make the fold, so that is right in the center of the material, and a quarter of an inch or so in, start sewing. Now I'm not going to tack it there, and you may wonder why. I'm about to show you. So when we get to the first quarter mark, we're going to do some back stitching. This is where we want to tack it off. And then we stitch up to the edge of the zipper, and we grab one of these grosgrain loops. We're going to want these on the outside of the bag when the bag is sewn. Remember, the outside is inside. So let's take this and slide it to the outside of the bag, which is inside the fold, and raise the foot, line this up nice and straight, check it on the inside, it's lined up with the zipper. Material nice and flat, and here we go. And we've just attached our grosgrain loop to the bag. Here we're coming upon our second middle mark. Back, forth, back, and just to the end. That's far enough. I'm going to cut it off. All right, we'll do the same thing to the other side and then work on building the box. Now that we have both ends sewn, we can trim off the last of the zipper and the excess grosgrain right to the edge. So let's unzip it. Turn it right side out. See what it looks like. Well, it works as a bag now, but it lacks this nice square shape that we have in this finished bag. So how do we get that square shape? Well, we've got to go back to the inside out position. Pull the zippers down a bit. Now, we're going to pull the bag into a square shape at the end. And now we're going to see what those quarter of the way marks were for, right here and right here, and why we only bothered to backstitch where those marks were and not all the way up. The reason is that we are now going to, after we build that nice triangle, just like that, in each end, we are going to stitch right across where that mark is, right here, and that's going to build the two ends of the box. Before stitching, you might find it helpful to mark the beginning and the end point of the next stitch. Here and here. We'll do the same thing for the other side. Pull this nice and tight, lay a straight edge right on that line, and mark the ends. This is all going to be on the inside of the bag, so the marks don't matter. Using the marks that we created at each end and the middle mark that we created earlier, sew a straight line directly across the bag from one end to the other. And the other side. Now, we have to do the same thing to the other side, but before we do, I'll explain a couple of things. See where we backstitched previously when we were making this long stitch here and here? Notice how the stitches cross. So we are going to be cutting away all of this because it's not needed, and it would just provide bulk to the inside. There. So when we stitched across, we didn't bother with the ends. We did a back stitch right where that crossing point is, went over the zipper, did another back stitch right there, and then went to the end. We went to the end really just to hold it together so that it would be easier to make these folds. And then coming across here, we've made our stitch, and you can see how that's creating a nice box end. We'll do the other side and be finished. All right, we're all done with sewing. It's time to turn the bag right side out. Push all the corners out. See that nice square box we got because we made those measurements? Line up the zippers. Attach the zipper pull. And close up the bag. So big shout out to the folks at RipstopByTheRoll. They make a great kit. They have great materials. Part of the reason I made this video is because the next video we're going to answer the question, what if you want a bigger bag? What if you want a different shape bag? Maybe you want a bag that's a little bit wider and just as tall. Or maybe you want a bag that's taller and just this wide. Or just a bigger box of a bag. So now that we've made a bag and we've looked at all of the construction steps, we're going to skip those in the next video and we're going to go right to the design and construction of a different size bag, working from raw materials, not from a kit. So again, shout out to RipstopByTheRoll. Great materials, great kits. Buy them, have fun with them. See you at the next video.